Andrew Scull, Madness and Civilization, A Cultural History of Insanity. Welcome to the journey through Madness and Civilization, A Cultural History of Insanity by Andrew Scull. Explore the fluctuating definitions of a madness, taking a deep dive into historical viewpoints and treatments of mental illness that span cultural and religious contexts. Learn about the Judeo-Christian tradition of regarding madness as a divine punishment, the scientific theories of Greeks and Romans, and the role of the Arabs in preserving and spreading medical knowledge. This summary aims to elucidate complex concepts while maintaining a user-friendly and captivating tone, perfect for readers eager to expand their understanding of the intricacies of societal views on mental illnesses throughout history.
The perceptions of madness throughout history. The author explores how madness has been defined and viewed in different cultures and time periods. From the Judeo-Christian belief of it being a punishment from God to the Greek and Roman scientific approach of balancing the humors in the body to treat mental illness, the author provides insight on the various debates and theories around the causes of madness throughout history. The influence of Arabic medicine. Arabic culture has played a significant role in the preservation and spread of medical knowledge throughout history. While the Arab conquests caused the loss of centuries-old Persian medical knowledge, they later sought out and studied Greek and Latin medical texts after the fall of Constantinople in 1453. The Arabs combined supernatural explanations with empirical reasoning for understanding mental distress, leading to the production of the most important medical text in history, the Canon. This text summarized all known medical knowledge and was translated into various languages and used as a textbook until the 18th century. Without the influence of Arabic intellectualism and learning, medical science today would be much poorer. Enlightenment and the reign of superstitions. The Enlightenment era that took place between the 16th and 18th centuries in Europe had far-reaching consequences on people's understanding of the world. Despite the philosophers of the time, such as Voltaire and Hume, promoting the values of rationality, the belief in superstitious entities still held firm in society. The book highlights the implications of this contradiction through the persecution of witches, who were often those with mental health issues. The witch hunts claimed thousands of innocent lives as people who were mentally disabled or ill were accused of possessing supernatural powers. Even though artists and playwrights of the era demonstrated the link between madness and creativity, the consequences of this erroneous link were deadly. Consequently, religion and rationality's intersection during the Enlightenment era is explored, laying bare the cost of superstitions in society. The historical stigma of mental illness. For most of history, mental illness was misunderstood and those suffering from it were ostracized from society. Small communities were ill-equipped to deal with mental health issues, leading to sufferers being left without treatment, food, or shelter. Even worse, they faced corporal punishment and harmful procedures such as exorcism. The Catholic Church offered exorcisms as a remedy to mental illness, which rarely worked and sometimes resulted in harm or death. With no scientific method to review these practices, they continued for centuries, denying those with mental illness the help they needed. It's only in recent times that mental illness has begun to be taken seriously and treatments have been developed. The dark history of mental health treatment. Mental health treatment in the past was an appalling practice compared to today's standards. The British Bethlehem Hospital, also known as Bedlam, was a notorious example of the cruel treatment inflicted on patients. It was founded in 1247 and mainly admitted patients with physical ailments, and those with mental illness were primarily looked after from the 17th century onwards. Patients were mistreated, chained, and left to suffer in cruel conditions. Building dedicated madhouses to get those with mental illness off the streets was also common practice. These institutions were unregulated, and their owners charged exorbitant prices, making large fortunes from affluent families who wanted to confine their family members. The Marquis de Sade, for instance, was incarcerated for his sexual deviancy, which was damaging to the family's reputation. This dark history illustrates that the care and concern for well-being were not always top priorities, making it essential to understand the progress and the changes that have happened over time. Revolutionizing medical treatment. The 18th century saw a significant revolution in philosophy and understanding human nature, which eventually led to the transformation of medical treatment. Mental illness patients were given a humanistic approach towards treatment, emphasizing proper care and time for healing. Doctors like William Tuke and Philippe Pinel advocated for the humane treatment of patients, leading to the birth of moral treatment. This approach aimed to improve the patient's moral qualities and lead to self-regulation and reintegration into society. However, despite these developments, patients in asylums remained confined under lock and key. In the 19th century, with advancement in medical knowledge, it was recognized that mental illness had physiological causes, but this led to the establishment of increasingly horrific regimes in asylums. The conditions were appalling, and abuse and murder were common, with asylums only fully decommissioned in the West at the end of the 20th century. The emergence of understanding mental illnesses. Prior to the mid-19th century, madness was a broad term with no distinction in symptom or cause. However, in France and Germany, medical professionals began to realize that different treatments worked for different patients. Eventually, it was determined that there was a variety of conditions that could cause mental illness, including issues with the brain, body, or trauma. Wilhelm Griesinger, a professor of psychiatry, suggested that madness was caused by inflammation or damage to the brain, leading to detailed studies that led to the discovery of illnesses such as Alzheimer's. This inspired a new era in medical science devoted to understanding mental illnesses and their root causes. Research eventually led to the discovery that syphilis could cause mental issues and general paralysis of the insane. Freud's psychoanalytic approach. Sigmund Freud revolutionized the way we understand the working of mind by introducing psychoanalysis as a tool to explore past traumatic experiences in patients. Freud initially believed that most mental disorders resulted from sexual trauma. However, he later found that childhood traumas deeply embedded in the subconscious were the root cause of many afflictions. Freud concluded that the best way to treat mental illness was to address these traumas. When World War I broke out, doctors were unsure of how to treat the thousands of soldiers suffering from various symptoms of mental illness. They were diagnosing the patients as weak-willed or having cowardice. However, it was later realized that these soldiers were suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder caused by the horrors of the war. Freud's psychoanalytic approach has contributed significantly to the treatment of mental illness and has helped to address the root cause of afflictions. Asylums, the rise and fall. The era of asylums in the treatment of mental illness is long gone, but the story continues. Public outcry led to the end of the horrors of treating those with mental illness. Psychoanalysts incorporated Freud's theories in hour-long therapy sessions, creating an exclusive atmosphere for the rich. The combination of therapy and medication was adopted for treatment, but many patients end up on the streets or imprisoned without supervision. The closing of asylums was a great achievement, but it also resulted in many people falling through the cracks or left without care and a home. The need for improving the treatment of those with mental illness is critical, and the story is still unfolding.
As we conclude our exploration of madness and civilization, a greater understanding of the history and evolution of madness emerges. From biblical prophets and divinely induced madness to the Greeks, Romans, and Arab scientific approaches, mental illness has been perceived differently across civilizations. The Enlightenment challenged superstition, and the birth of psychiatry provided a more compassionate lens to view mental illness, though asylums remained as horrific as ever. Contributions from scientists and Freud's psychoanalysis improved care for patients, but gaps in treatment persist to this day. Throughout history, mental illness has faced dismissal, misunderstanding, and maltreatment, and the journey towards comprehensive and effective care for all continues.